Hey everybody, it's Ian from Ferrum. I'm joined with me today, Taha Abbasi, our Chief Strategy Officer. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. It's similar to our community update we've been doing, but it's going to be more dev focused. We've gotten a lot of feedback from community members, governance committee, that they want to hear from us on the tech side, what's being developed, what's in the pipeline, maybe so some sneak peeks of upcoming products we have. And so we thought it'd be perfect to bring on Taha, who's an integral member of the Ferrum team. You guys can get to know him a little bit, and we'll dive into all the exciting things we have coming up on the dev side. So with that, Taha, if you want to just quickly introduce yourself, maybe a little background about how you got into crypto and what you do for Ferrum, and then we can dive right in.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me in. This is really exciting to share some updates from a technical standpoint with the community as well. Just a quick overview of my background. I've been in technology, I joke about, since we still used to use physical keyboards to type on mobile phones. Started off by building websites in my early days, and then when iPhone came out, got into iOS development, transitioned to Android, built my stack up to move into software architecture, and then eventually was a chief software architect at a e-commerce company where I helped scale up to 1 million SKUs for that organization. Soon after, transitioned to start my own software development house that grew from 4 of us initially to about 200 engineers. And in 2017, I was able to step away from that. It became more self-sustaining. So I kind of just keep the pulse on things. And it's been a blessing since then, because I've been able to really dive into some of those cooler projects that I was always interested in, but didn't always make the most business sense. And that's where my intro to blockchain came in at a much higher level. I was traveling around in Singapore and launched a company called Recreate that was helping solve data segregation problems that come in the diving industry. And we were trying to build a system where all these diving certificates and their qualification data can be shared amongst organizations like PADI, SSI, and STI, instead of them fighting each other for keeping their data, which was making the diving experience much more dangerous. And one of my close friends actually almost died as a result of this data segregation, because she went to dive in the Maldives and they thought that she had the experience needed to dive in those currents, but because of how segregated this data is, they didn't have a good way to qualify whether she should go in those currents or not. And so there's a whole initiative that went out around that. In fact, some of the work that I did there got noticed by TEDx, the organization that holds segregated summits about TED Talks, and they invited me out to give a talk on that subject in Wilmington, Delaware. I think it was in 2018. So if you search "Saving Lives with Blockchain," Taha Abbasi, you'll hear about that. That's sort of where I got hooked. And then I've been a Ferrum fanboy for a while. Nick Odio, actually our EVP of strategic partnerships, I remember back in the day, connected me with you, and he's like, "Oh man, Ian's awesome." And like it's one of those situations where the founder of the organization is in the community, so the love is there, the passion is there, and you could really see Connoisseur sold us on Ferrum back in the day. So I was a hardcore community member, part of the pre-sales program. And I think a lot just aligned. I saw an opportunity to grow with the company here. And I think we clicked, initially worked unofficially for a while and came on board. And it's no looking back since then. It's been a great journey so far.
100%. And I'll just add some insights from my standpoint. A lot of people may not know this, but many of the recent improvements around the website, around maybe systems that we have in place for the pre-sales. Of course, a lot of the things that are happening on the tech side, which you'll hear about shortly. Taha has been the mastermind behind most, if not all, of these recent improvements. So he's been an incredible value add to the Ferrum team and community. And absolutely, we clicked, and super thankful and thrilled to that he decided to come on board. And that was about, I don't know when you started officially, but it feels like you've been helping the project for a good at least 6 months. But now I think all the things that Taha promised he would do to help, saying, okay, I can help you with this system, the sales system, HR side, all these things it's actually coming to fruition. And so people might not know this, but Taha is really the mastermind behind a lot of that. I just want to give you that shout out. But if you guys see Taha in the community, so, give him a big thanks. He's around, not quite as often as I am because he's he's busy on the tech side, but really great guy, and I encourage everybody to get to know him.
Yeah, no, thank you. And it's a testament to the leadership as well with what you and Naeem have started and the whole team really. It takes a lot to transition from what you've created as your baby to now help scale it and bring on the right team members. And I think you guys have done a tremendous job putting that team together. I'm a part of that, but there's a lot more members. It's a ship. It's like an engine that all the parts have to do their job really, really well. Otherwise, the whole thing just seizes, right? And I think we're blessed to have really good members, and we're going to just keep adding more and more star players to that team.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You couldn't have said it better myself. So with that, I think a lot of people are curious as to what has been going on the dev side, what is coming up. So maybe if you can give us sort of a high level overview of what we're going to run down today and what we're going to talk about, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll start with a little bit of an outline just so people can take up what they're interested in, and then we'll put time slots in this YouTube video when it goes out, so you can just click and go exactly to that point. So what we're going to be covering in this video is one, what has Ferrum been up to from a tech standpoint? We're going to cover a little bit about what have been our obstacles in trying to accomplish the goals and the tasks that we have set out to do. We're going to talk about how we're overcoming those obstacles and what has been the progress in that area. And then we're going to hit on a bit of our high level roadmap, both specifically for this quarter upcoming, how we're going to finish off Q4, a little bit into Q1, and then overall over the next year to 18 months, what are we looking forward to? So that's going to be the overview of what's going to be covered in this video, along with some Q&A about specific items that we want to highlight.
Awesome. Well, let's dive right in. I'm as excited, I think, as maybe some of our viewers, because to be honest, people might not know this. We've grown so much. And I'm involved with many different aspects of the project, but I'm not as day-to-day on the dev side. So that's really another reason we wanted to bring in Taha. So I'll be learning things probably along with the rest of the community. So I'm very excited. And with that, let's get going with that high level or that sort of roadmap that you're going to be laying out.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about, we said we're going to hit on what has Ferrum been up to thus far. So I think the biggest thing since we came on board, since I came on board in March, was sort of identifying what are going to be the big wins for Ferrum. And we all know that mainnet is the ultimate goal. The problem with launching mainnet is you don't want to just launch a flaw mainnet just to say, oh, Ferrum mainnet is out, doesn't really provide the utility it was designed to do, so it doesn't have the traction, and then it just flops. So there has to be some strategy behind that. And as you start to implement that strategy, there's obstacles in terms of engineering resources, in terms of process, in terms of just how are you going to go out and get the partnerships traction and so on and so forth to make this a success. So we highlighted the cross-chain token bridge as one of the core elements that needs to go out, because the mainnet in essence is going to need to allow interoperability of assets across different networks in a smooth manner. So the token bridge made the most sense. And it also turned into a gateway for us to take our other suite of products and services, such as staking. And now we're launching more products that are related to that area to other networks that was going to be part of what the mainnet was going to enable. So the token bridge we launched in June, and it turned out to be a tremendous success. One of our first clients that onboarded, I'm going to give a shout out to Paid Network. They, within the first 24 hours of launching, did over $1.3 million of transfers. And that just blew us away. This is without any marketing. This is without any sort of advertising from the Ferrum side to project this bridge. And within a week, we had done over $8 million of transfers on the bridge, which may not seem like a huge number when you look at bridges in general, but we had literally done zero marketing as a week of coming out. And since then, it's been just a pipeline. It's a wait list of over 3 weeks right now for clients to get onboarded onto the bridge, and it keeps growing. So I think it's been a tremendous success, and it's only the first version. This is now evolving into something that we had on the back burner for a while. People know about the Infinity DEX. So we're sort of combining some of the features of what the bridge is into what's going to turn into a cross-chain swapping solution. And we are calling it V12 of the bridge. And it's already under audit. The audit process takes a little bit longer, as you anticipate, as we all know. Once that comes out, essentially the bridge is going to turn into a cross-chain DEX that's going to allow you to swap any X asset on network one for any Y asset on network two. So that has been what's taken up a lot of our time, along with the tech product shipment side of things, such as launching the token bridge, launching the improved version of the Crucible, which is also something that is currently under audit. It's going to enable a whole ecosystem of solutions and utility for Ferrum, which I'll get into when I get into our high-level roadmap. That's also something we've been building. But along with that, we've been optimizing our engineering team. And I'll kind of hit into our obstacles as it relates to that. So as we want to go out and build all these products, we want to build the Crucible, we want to build the gateway, we want to build a better pre-sale system, we want to build additional utility into Ferrum. Well, how come we can't just ship products out really quickly? In my ideal world, we'd be shipping 3 or 4 products out a month. So what has been the obstacle? And that's probably the next thing that I want to get into. But before we dive into, Ian, I just want to see if you had any specific questions about what we've been up to in the past, or do we want to just dive into the obstacles that we've been facing a little bit?
Yeah, I think just stepping in the shoes of a viewer, I think there may be some questions around the differences between V1 of the bridge and we're calling it V12, but it's sort of a cross-chain swapping deck, so to speak. What's the main difference, would you say, between how we built the V1, the architecture of the V1, and the architecture of the V2?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll also hit on how that bridge differentiates between like any swap or chain swap or any of the other solutions that are out there, which, by the way, are formidable solutions. No bad intentions or any bad vibes towards any of those bridges. They pioneered bridging across the space. But when we built out our bridge, we wanted to go and analyze, is there even a need for a bridge in the market? And we noticed that there are some significant issues with how the bridging architecture is being put out in the market. Most of these bridges use a mint and burn or lock and burn architecture, which means on network 1, when a user swaps tokens from Ethereum to BSC, let's take an example, they will deposit those tokens into let's use the lock and burn example, into a smart contract on the Ethereum side. And then the bridging platform will then mint tokens on the BSC side and distribute them. The problem with this approach that we saw is multiple fold. One, the token contract on the destination network is in the control of the bridging platform, not the project. So if Ferrum was to list on any of these projects, we would be giving up the control of our token contract to a bridging platform, which inherently, from an OPSEC, from a technical security standpoint, is problematic in our opinion. Secondly, it exposes 2 main areas of risk, which in our opinion were too high to become the industry norm. So we wanted to launch this. One is those locked liquidity pools where these tokens are being locked over time can turn into hundreds of millions of dollars over time. As we saw in the case of the Poly network hack, it was $600 million that was drained. Luckily, it was a white hat hacker. But if you put a big enough pot, over time, some hacker is going to be incentivized to come and attack you. So we felt that these bridges are essentially creating an incentive structure for hackers to come and exploit that bridging pool one way or the other. Because even if you spend 2 years and the payout on the other side is 20 million, 100 million, 50 million, it's a good day for you as a hacker. So we saw that as a problem. And the second one that we haven't seen yet, we feel is going to be a really, really bad day for crypto if and when this happens. That is that understand that these bridging platforms have the ability, they have operative and interactive control over these token contracts. So if a hacker is able to exploit the bridging contracts themselves, they can essentially go through all the assets that are listed on this bridge and start minting millions of tokens for any one of these assets, and then start dumping them on the market and the community. There's nothing stopping them from doing so. Our bridge was built specifically to completely segregate this responsibility. Our bridge cannot mint any tokens. It does not hold excessive amount of token liquidity into the bridging platform. So that is V1 of the bridge. By itself, it solves those 2 security issues, and it allows you to swap any X token on network 1 for the same X token on network 2 mapped 1-to-1, while separating the token contract responsibility from it specifically. So even if our bridge does get hacked, you cannot mint tokens, and you can only extract a limited amount of liquidity, typically the daily volume only. So not hundreds of millions of dollars, just the volume that would have been at that point. I'm not saying it will get hacked, but we've thought about, even in the worst case scenario, how do you limit that risk? So that's a high level overview of what our bridge V1 is.
Perfect. Thank you. I think even I was surprised to find that some of our governance committee members, who are the most informed and tuned, weren't actually aware of those architectural differences and the security benefits of the way we designed our bridge. So I think it's really great that you touched on that and explained that in a very clear manner. So thank you. But I think the next question obviously is the V1.2, the version 2, essentially. How does that differ from the version 1 with respect to the architecture?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it takes on what we built with V1 and builds on top of it. If further, right now with V1, projects are still required to add liquidity onto our bridge contracts on either side of the network that they want to enable transferring from and to. With V12, that requirement is going to go away. So currently, if there's an exploit with our bridge, in software, you can never guarantee that there will never be an exploit. You can only think about what you will do in the case of the exploit, how do you reduce the risk, how to mitigate those risks, right? So currently, in the worst case scenario with V1, if an exploit happens, the mitigated risk is that only a daily volume of liquidity is all that can be accessed. So that's the minimum risk that can happen. Now, with V12, even that gets removed because the V12 is going to be able to tap into DEX liquidity pairs at various DEX contracts across networks. So what does that mean? On Ethereum, we'll be able to tap into a pair for whatever project token is listed. And on, let's say, BSC, we can tap into Ape Swap or Pancake Swap's DEX liquidity pair for that same token. Not only will that remove the first benefit, a security risk of the bridge contracts having any liquidity, that's completely removed now, but it also, through routers and aggregator protocols that we've integrated with, allows you to swap any X asset on network one. Let's say that asset on network one is Ferrum, or let's take a better example. Let's say that asset on network one is USDC, and you want to get some Ferrum BEP20 on BSC. You'll now be able to do that. You can go to our bridge with the next version coming out and take some USDC and buy some USDC on Ethereum and buy some BEP20 Ferrum with it. And you can do that with any asset that on any network that we're already integrated with. So those are the two main benefits of V12. And I think that's really, really exciting because it really opens up the amount of assets that you can transfer over across networks.
Yeah, this is absolutely huge. I want people just to take a moment to appreciate the innovation here and the possibility of a product like this, because prior to version V12, we had basically built a permission system. You needed to work with the Ferrum team. You needed to manage liquidity yourselves. We would help with that. But it's essentially slowed the process of onboarding projects onto this bridge. Now with version of V12, we don't have that impediment. We can just onboard, projects can just sort of onboard themselves. It's a permissionless system now, and it means we can expand the assets available by many magnitudes, including up into the big assets. There's no reason our bridge can't also have the USDC to USD T pair or whatever, the big pairs. Whereas before it was just the projects that we could onboard and pitch to and close a deal with. Is now it's really a true permission system. And I know there's a little bit of surprise coming too in terms of how the FRM token will be utilized. And I don't know if it's going to be this version or maybe another version, but we're always thinking about FRM utility. And this is a wonderful opportunity to add some incredible utility to the Ferrum token. So I don't know if you want to touch on that real quick before we move on to the next topic, but I'm sure people are curious about it.
Yeah, there's one really important aspect of this utility in that, as you mentioned earlier in the call, there's some things that you might not be aware of. So I think you're going to be really surprised about this too. So in the router, there's utility built in for Ferrum and Ferrum X. So what does that mean? You can add a pair liquidity to DEXs for what normally people would do on Uniswap, their project token in Ethereum, and on BSC, their project token in BNB. But if they choose to add the pair, their token in Ferrum, they will get preferable fees on that routing protocol. So for trading that token, it's typically about half of the fee as compared to going through the standard routing protocol if they go through a Ferrum pair. So all these projects that are listing will be incentivized naturally if they want their token to be more accessible to their community or just the world at large, to pair it with the Ferrum token, to buy equivalent amount of Ferrum token and to put that as liquidity in addition to obviously the normal liquidity. They don't have to do that, but it's more optimized routing, which reduces fees and makes it more feasible for just the swapping protocol, right? So that's one utility element. So I wanted to share that first and just hear your thoughts on that, and I'll add the other element as well.
Well, I think it's absolutely massive because before teams were they're basically paying a little bit in token fees. There's a little bit of there's a little bit of cost to it. Now we're saying, okay, you can reduce these fees, but now you have to buy Ferrum. Our B2B businesses have always been incredibly successful, but the challenge had been, how do we integrate the FRM token and add utility to the FRM token but when we onboard a new client to one of our products. So we will have solved that problem with this new system.
Yes, exactly. So that's one part of it. At a transactional level, we're going to have utility with each swap. And then additionally, we're amplifying it with what's going to turn into Crucible. And this will make more sense when I shared a high level roadmap. But essentially, Ferrum is going to be mapped, and you shared a simplified version now, more detailed version when we get into the roadmap visualization, is essentially if you hold a certain amount of Ferrum and Ferrum Max in a certain form, you'll get access to reduced fees on the bridge. So if the fee was going to be 1%, you might get like 25% off of that. And we're going to do a tier system there. So the highest holders might get more benefits. We might run some competitions where we might get access to certain holders. So essentially, hold Ferrum, get discounted or waived fees depending on which tier you're on, which adds utility at a consumer level as well.
Perfect. So the B2B side is covered. The B2C side is covered. I think it's really critical to touch on these points. So thank you for diving into that. In terms of what we want to cover next, we're happy to go over maybe some of the challenges we've been facing as as a team with respect to the engineering and what we're doing to solve that. Or we can go to the roadmap. I'll defer to you, Taha.
I think it's a good way to transition into some of the obstacles and also to give a shout out. So like a lot of these ideas that I've mentioned, they've literally come out of the brain of Naeem. So we talk about him and he's just an incredible individual. It was his birthday yesterday. By the way, I don't know when this video is going to come out, but October 23rd is his birthday. I'm kind of doxing him a little bit, but if you're in the community, make sure you wish Naeem a happy birthday. And I was glad to hear on a stand-up this morning, he works 24/7, but he was able to take a little bit of time off to celebrate his birthday, which was awesome. But he has just incredible aptitude and ability to think of ideas in the market ahead of time and then execute them really quickly. The problem historically has been is try to duplicate some of the capability that Naeem has so that we can give him the room to focus more on these R&D type of things that no one else can do, and have the team that can scale and implement these solutions and get them to market. And I'm going to share a little bit of a visualization here to kind of give you an overview of what this problem looks like visually. So let's kind of look at one of our repos at Ferrum, and I will kind of go through this video and I'll talk about it a little bit. So this is a visualization of one of our code repos that interacts with some of the tools that we have. So you can see that this user, Naeem, is essentially going all across and being involved in all different parts of the code. And this is how it was in the beginning for the most part. Even though we had engineers, he had to QC everything, approve it, and merge it into our repos. Later on, we kind of put in a structure where another one of our engineers, Ibrahim, who's been around for a while, was able to tap into it. And then we started adding more and more engineers that you'll start seeing popping up here. Ahad was one of them. And as our engineering team expanded, 3 or 4 engineers were able to start working on these repos, which helps speed up some of our shipment time and velocity of our products. But we're still not where we need to be, and we're starting to transition to that area. The problem with this approach is there's always going to be a bottleneck with someone like Naeem, who's a senior engineer with really good expertise and ability to QC, QA, and also develop and implement things that other people can. Now we have been at a position, and this is sort of our goal this quarter, as we're hiring our next set of senior engineers that we've been able to source over the last couple of months. It's been a strenuous process where we'll be able to deploy multiple applications at the same time, and this will help visualize some of that, and multiple engineers can work on it at the same time. And this is going to exponentially increase our ability to launch products. So for example, instead of saying the gateway is coming out on this date and the Crucible is coming out after that on this date, there's a set of engineers and a team that can work specifically on the gateway, a team that can work on the leaderboard specifically, a team that can work on the Crucible specifically, and all of that can replicate some of what Naeem is doing while allowing our senior engineering team to focus on the R&D side of things and to develop these next solutions to stay ahead of the market. So our obstacle has really been replicating that, and what we're doing to solve that is hiring more capable engineers. And why is that taking so long? Might be another question that comes up. The problem with hiring engineers is hiring a bad engineer is typically more costly than not hiring one. And the reason is that you bring them in, you spend the time to train them, onboard them into a system, they build a bunch of applications, integrate them into your system. And then if the work was not up to par, then the other engineering resources that were busy deploying high priority items now have to be taken off to fix the work that this engineer that might not be competent has deployed out. So that's why we were quite picky in who we bring on board. We've gone through, I just did a check before this call, about 650 applications, a little over that. And now we finalized a batch of 10 engineers that are going to be coming on board between now and mid-November. And that's really going to exponentially increase our ability to ship products. And when we get into the roadmap side of things, Ian, we're going to highlight some of what these sets of engineers are going to work on individually in their own segregated teams. So we have more of a decentralized set of team structure within our engineering team within Ferrum. And that all kind of leads into a centralized QA structure so that when the product goes out, even though there's these different teams working on it, it goes out up to the quality that people always expect from us.
That's critically important. I want to touch on 2 points you made there. One, shout out to Naeem, who, if people don't know, I mean, he's absolutely prolific. He is a true genius. There's a reason why. So someone had asked me in the governance committee, hey, why don't you have Naeem on this call? And in a perfect world, we would, and in the future we will. But to be honest, his time right now is so valuable that no one would on the core Ferrum team would want to pull him off of the work that he's doing on the engineering side to bring him into an interview. And we're very thankful and fortunate to have someone like Taha, who's incredibly articulate, knows everything that's going on, who can be on. But the reality is, Naeem is so valuable. We didn't want to pull him away for 1 hour for an interview like this. But the second point I want to make is we're aware of the issues with the speed in which products are being launched. It's not a problem exclusive to Ferrum. It's most projects in crypto, I think, probably have delays, that things take longer than you think. But you heard Taha just say, we looked at 650 resumes. I think they've interviewed hundreds of people, devs, in the past 6 weeks or 2 months. And we've also hired at least a handful, 3-4 devs in the past few weeks. I know more are coming on board. So this is a problem we're actively solving. But again, like Taha said, it's not something we want to make a mistake on, and it's not something to take lightly. I mean, we need to hire the right people. But once we have that all-star dev team in place, just imagine the velocity we can go and where we can take this project. So, I always say patience is a virtue in crypto, but in this case, I really believe that it is. So I wanted to just touch on those 2 things before we move on to the next topic here.
Yeah, absolutely. And in that light, one of the primary aspects of my job here at Ferrum is to set up structures to free up this time for Naeem to work on more of these R&D aspects, because the work that's going to be needed with mainnet, it requires us to have these teams in place where Naeem doesn't have to be involved on the day-to-day basis on the Crucible elements, on token bridge elements, on staking elements. So we're offloading a lot of that, which is why a lot of the moves that we're going to make, and we're going to share about what's happening with Unifier, for example, and why we're moving to Gateway, all of that is going to start to make a lot of sense as we get into the roadmap, which I think is a good time now to transition into what our high-level roadmap is going to be upcoming, and then kind of hit into why we're making those decisions and dive into any other specific questions that might come up from that.
Let's do it. I'm sure we're all interested to see that nice graphic you made about the roadmap.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is just a high-level visual. Of course, there's other ways to look at this roadmap on the various sites that I'll hit on a little bit later. But I want to kind of highlight sort of the problems that we've identified that you face as a community member and what we're doing to solve them. So let's kind of start off with this right here. Just the top part. Welcome to Ferrum Network, right? So, and this is something I'm in community chats. I may not be as active as some of our team members, and Ian's a lot more active, but I try to observe and learn from what's happening in the community, what's happening in GC, and we all kind of take that feedback and figure out how we're going to solve this problem. The Welcome to Ferrum Network is a problem that we have not solved yet. So if you're trying to introduce somebody to Ferrum Network, when they come to our site, for the most part, they get confused. They're like, okay, there's staking. I can fill a form out to get staking services, but I just want to buy their token. Then you click and you can like fill a form out to get token bridge, but like you don't know why you should get the token, right? And then like where to go get the token is a problem, which are all things that we're solving in the background. But at a grand level, we've been thinking about how do we make this complex ecosystem of Ferrum has staking services, it has pre-sale services, it has a token bridge, it has other utility that keeps getting at it. How do we kind of guide people through this pathway? And the Gateway has been in conversation in regards to this for a while, but the same problems we're facing in other areas of engineering kind of trickled into Gateway as well. So what we've done is we've compartmentalized some of what's going to happen in the Gateway, and we're going to launch it in a phased version starting as early as our hope is the first version goes out in about 2 weeks from now. And you're going to see iterations of it. Now, is it going to be called Gateway? No. But elements of what's going to end up being in Gateway are going to get launched, and I'll explain what that means in a second. But before I dive into a specific product, let me kind of give a high-level overview of what our vision is with Welcome to Ferrum Network and what that journey looks like. So instead of being confused when you're introduced to Ferrum Network, our idea is that the community members will be able to share a link to what will be the gateway into Ferrum Network. And this journey is going to explain to the user, hey, welcome to Ferrum Network. Let's take you on a path to understand what Ferrum is, what Ferrum does, and how you can be involved with Ferrum and why you should be involved and how you can benefit from it. Users will have the option to continue through that journey anonymously, or they can create their profile by connecting their wallet and adding some information, which gives them some benefits right off the bat. And those benefits will be explained a little bit later on. So as people come to the gateway, they kind of connect their wallet and create their own profile. And then they have the options to do something within that gateway, within that ecosystem. So that option is either they can get Ferrum and Ferrum X, which is the normal process as they would right now, and they can HODL and trade that Ferrum and Ferrum X if they would like, right? The standard benefits. Currently with Ferrum and Ferrum X, this is where the journey kind of takes different paths. So currently, if you want to take part of pre-sales, you download Unifier, and then in the Unifier, you hold Ferrum and Ferrum X, and you can have certain benefits for it. We're dissecting that, and we're saying if you want to be a Ferrum and Ferrum X holder only, here are all the benefits that you can have. You can enjoy the benefits of the company's success, its growth, the token success, which is inevitably going to come as you make some of these changes. Or you can take Ferrum and Ferrum X and put it into something called the Crucible. This is extremely important. So the name Ferrum comes from, as you guys know, it's the Latin word for iron. And the reason we chose this name, Ian actually told the story a while back, and I loved it. It's one of the things that caught me into Ferrum, is that iron has this unique capability to a lot of elements will fuse easily into iron, allowing it to be this sort of element that can help various, in our case, in the world of blockchain, various assets across different networks transfer and be interoperable across different networks very easily. And that's been why we chose the word Ferrum and why the word iron means a lot to us. Well, why did we choose Crucible as the word and the name for this specific product that's going to be launched? So Crucible is essentially a device. It's like a pot that is used to submit initial elements into it, and very high pressure under very high temperatures, it forms something more powerful, something more fruitful than what was initially put into it. So the idea is you take your Ferrum and Ferrum X, you put it into Crucible, and what does that do? It gives you access to a limitless DeFi ecosystem. So we're sort of streamlining all of our various products and services, and we're guiding users in, hey, if you want to be a Ferrum holder or Ferrum X holder, here are all the benefits. But if you want to amplify those benefits, you can take your Ferrum and Ferrum X, deposit them into Crucible, which will give you a Crucible and Crucible X token to show your position into this new product. And through this, now you will get access to pre-sales. You can get access to whatever staking solutions and rewards that we have out at that point, including farming tokens. These staking solutions, by the way, are self-sustaining staking solutions. And we'll hit on this separately a little bit as to how reflection staking is a part of this. You earn fees every time a transaction happens with these specific tokens. And every time a transaction happens, a portion of these tokens are also burned. So your value of your tokens is going up and you're earning fees perpetually. So this is something I'll be a part of it. Holding these tokens gives you other benefits, such as reduced fees and cross-chain swaps. You also get access to rare NFTs that will be launching from time to time. Their utility is not predetermined. Will be determined based on what's happening in the market, and their schedule is not predetermined. We're not going to be a monthly NFT drop. So it's going to be very, very rare when they come out, and their benefits are going to be quite exciting as well. And then for the B2B side, this is going to become a requirement. So if people want to get access to some of our products and services, they're now going to need to take Ferrum and Ferrum X and convert it into the Crucible, and that will give them access to the various products and services we have, which include staking, token bridge, token deployments, leaderboard and competition modules, NFT auction and bidding systems. And in Q1 of next year, we're going to be launching our API and SDK access to all of our tools and services that will allow other projects, especially gaming projects, to build on top of all of our solutions that we have. So be able to swap assets within games. Think about network as an example, or think about any other game that's out there, to be able to take access from one network to the other and earn rewards while doing so, and have a simple API that can be tapped into take advantage of all those rewards. So this is all of what's planned out for the upcoming future. And how we're solving this is by dedicating teams to work on, for example, there's a team that's going to be dedicated to work on staking, a team that's going to be dedicated to work on token bridge enhancements itself. That product is going to grow. Token deployments to Leaderboard is a combined team. The NFT auction bidding system is a specific team, and the API and SDK access is going to be a specific team. So we're decentralizing these teams are going to work in parallel to launch these products all in parallel instead of one after the other. So that's a high level, Ian. I just want to give it back to you a little bit to see if you have any comments about this or anything you want to dive into specifically.
Well, I don't know if it's possible, but I just got even more bullish on Ferrum than I ever have been. There was a lot of things I actually learned in that. And I wanted to touch on a couple of the moments that really stood out. So one of the problems I think everyone would acknowledge we face is that the ecosystem is a little bit bifurcated. So you have obviously the token benefits of holding it, but you have to hold in Unifier, right, to access the pre-sales or get the monthly rewards. We want to remove that extra step, that complexity. And this ecosystem will be as simple as just connecting your MetaMask wallet, right? So similar to many other DeFi projects, you see, you just go straight, you go to the website, you connect your wallet, and you'll be able to access all of this wonderful technology in a very streamlined and straightforward manner. So that's one thing. I think people ask what's holding Ferrum back. Well, the bifurcated nature of our ecosystem now, with some of the interaction happening on a mobile wallet, was one of those challenges. So at a high level, I think this is going to be a huge benefit. But the other thing too is the fact that you now need to essentially stake Ferrum and Ferrum X in the Crucible. And I want to ask you a couple more questions about the Crucible, Taha, but to access all of those additional products and services and basically the entirety of our ecosystem, that we have not really done before. And so when you look at this roadmap, we're talking about you taking our utility from here all the way to here. And so I couldn't be more bullish based on what you just said. But I wanted to ask you a couple of questions about the Crucible. So you mentioned there's going to be essentially a Crucible token, which provides the holders of Ferrum X some extra benefits. So if you could just touch on that for a moment, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, that's a great question, Ian. Actually, I'll hit on this is a description we went over, and I'm not going to go too deep into this, but I'll share where people can learn more about this as well. Essentially, what happens when you go into the Crucible is you get access to this self-sustaining deflationary ecosystem that provides perpetual rewards. And this sounds like too good to be true, but this is what Naeem has created, right? It's bonkers, and it took us about like 5 separate meetings to get a grasp on what he was talking about. And then I had to put it to paper to understand. And then it's actually live right now. The only thing pending is the audits, because of course you don't want to put anything out to market unless we've thoroughly tested and battle tested it. But here's what happens essentially, right? So let's kind of go back to the previous diagram first. So what happens? You get Ferrum and Ferrum X as you have right now. So all the holders that are holders of Ferrum and Ferrum X, they're not losing out on rewards. They have options now. The streamlined option of being a standard holder, which is very rewarding. I'm a holder of Ferrum and Ferrum X even before I came onto the company, and I believe in the company long term, so I have those benefits. But if I want to take all a portion of my holding and take advantage of the other utility, I would essentially go to a UI and hit a button to deposit my Ferrum and deposit my Ferrum X, and then I, in exchange, get Crucible and Crucible X tokens. Those tokens are mapped one-to-one to whatever token that you have deposited. So if the Ferrum is mapped one-to-one to Crucible, Ferrum X is mapped one-to-one to Crucible X. Now you can choose to do whatever you want with it. So you have choices, and you're not limited in those choices by, oh, I have deposited into a Unifier or which network I'm going on. This allows us to implement these solutions across networks as well. Whereas with Unifier, you were limited to Ethereum. I just tried to do a swap earlier, and the withdrawal was going to cost $200 the gas fees were so congested that time on Ethereum. A swap was going to cost $64 in gas. So the same thing on BSC, we all know what the difference is on gas fees. So we're really making it more accessible and more economical to do these transactions. So now that you have that Crucible and Crucible X token, you can choose to put a portion of it in the pre-sales wallet. You can choose to put a portion of it in our staking solutions and earn rewards that you have. Now, what happens with the staking solution? So specifically with those solutions, let me go back to this diagram. This is really, really interesting. So with these tokens, with these Crucible and Crucible X tokens, when you put those tokens into any DEX that we're live on and have opened up a staking pool for, you will get LP tokens back. So you have Crucible and Crucible X. I went and added some liquidity for them and I got some LP tokens back. When I take those LP tokens and I put them into this staking pool that we've opened up, what happens is we've mapped this Crucible and Crucible X token as follows. Every time a trading happens, a percentage of those tokens will get burned. So making the token deflationary and improving the value of that token. The rest of the percentage will get sent back as transaction fees as rewards into the staking pool. So essentially you're going to earn more of that token every time a transaction happens. The more tokens of that token that you earn, you can actually hook it up to an auto compounding farm. So it adds more liquidity, which results in more burns. Every time a trade happens, adds in more rewards, comes back in, you earn more token, goes back and adds more liquidity, more trading happens, you earn more rewards. So that cycle never really ends. It encourages more volume trading and encourages you to continue to add more liquidity if you want to earn more rewards. You can, of course, choose to extract it, but it's a self-sustaining system. And I know it sounds more complex here, but a great way to learn about this, and I'll highlight this over here, is you can go to roadmap.ferrum.network and you can go to Gateway. And right in Gateway, you'll learn about the Crucible wall build self-sustaining pools. And all of this is described in detail over there along with the diagrams. So you can read more about it. You can even have a conversation about it with myself or the other team members by commenting on specific questions, and we'll respond there. And if you like this idea, you can vote on it to prioritize a little bit higher. So that's a little bit of an overview about what exactly is a Crucible and what its impact is going to be on this ecosystem here.
Wow, thank you so much for that incredible explanation. I think people need to understand the power of what this means, not only for the participants of the Crucible staking or the reflection staking through the Crucible, but also for the ecosystem, Ferrum holders as a whole. Because in order to access this, of course, you need to stake or lock your tokens in the Crucible, providing more utility for the underlying assets. And then, of course, those who are participating in this, the sort of self-sustaining cycle of volume, creating value and burning, just is going to self-perpetuate. And my feeling on it is we're going to have a lot of people adding liquidity there, and I don't think they're going to want to withdraw it for a long, long time. So bravo to Naeem and the dev team for building this, conceiving of this. For those who may want to understand a little bit more, like Taha said, please go to the roadmap section of our website. We just created this incredible dynamic or real-time roadmap section on the site. You can go, comment, learn, engage with the team. It's underutilized now, but hopefully after this interview, folks will be interacting with that more because it's a wonderful tool. But yeah, thanks for that overview, Taha. That's really very exciting.
Yeah, we'll link to that specific page in the description of this video too. One thing I want to highlight, Ian, that some people might miss is while the Crucible is being burned, remember Crucible is mapped one-to-one to Ferrum. So this process makes Ferrum deflationary at a transactional level. So if let's say 1 million Ferrum was turned into 1 million Crucible, and over time through transactions, 200,000 of that Ferrum is burned, 200,000 of that Crucible is burned. Well, that cannot be converted back into Ferrum. So in essence, 20% of that Ferrum, which is 200,000 Crucible, is also burned by that same regard. So if a Crucible token is burned, or Crucible X is burned, Ferrum and Ferrum X is burned as well. So this is what's really exciting about this technology, and we're actually opening this up to other projects to take advantage of it as well. Is not only does it add a tremendous utility for that token, but it also has a positive impact on FRM and FRMX tokens as well.
Well, this is great news for folks who've been waiting for the mainnet because of the fact that it burns tokens with each transaction. We have already done that with the Token Bridge V1. It's going to happen with Token Bridge V2. And then now you heard it here, the Crucible is going to greatly accelerate the burning of Ferrum and FerrumX, which is going to, of course, benefit everybody. So again, bravo. I can't wait for this thing to be out of audit and get my tokens in there.
I know, right? Exactly. And I want to hit finally on how all of this kind of relates to mainnet. So I think hopefully this kind of gives you an idea is that all of these things are a precursor to what's going to end up being Ferrum mainnet. It's going to provide all this utility. It's going to make a lot of other networks more valuable where a lot of this utility didn't exist. Like if staking didn't exist there, or if you couldn't transfer assets from that network easily to another network, all of this is going to enable that functionality. And this is going to end up forming into what the mainnet is. So our goal is to knock out this portion right here by the end of this year. Now, this is not a date that we commit to. We're sharing our plans. The updates in real time are shared on a roadmap. What might change this are, for example, if we find out something in our audits that takes another 2 weeks to fix, or if, let's say, we plan to hire 2 engineering resources next week and we're only able to hire 1. So all of those things can change things in our timeline. But instead of you guys waiting to find out through community updates, this is where also I'd like to emphasize roadmap.ferrum.network, because we share very real-time updates on all of the things that are under consideration, all of the things that are planned and progress in audit and launched right on here. And you can even report bugs that you're noticing about different things. If you have a feature request, you can actually come to the site. You can either go directly to a specific section, or you can go, if you don't find a section that's specific, you can go to the feature request tab. And while you're searching for something, it automatically searches if there's something already out there for that specific topic. So you can just add your woven comment there. If there's nothing that exists for it, you can add your comment, add pictures, add screen recordings, and submit that to the team for review and get consensus from the community on it as well. So this is a very, very important tool where you can get real-time updates about the progress, any delays, or anything that might speed up as well, that we definitely encourage you to take advantage of.
Yeah, I'm totally with you, Taha. I mean, one thing that I love about the Ferrum community is their willingness to help us, to provide feedback, to engage with the team. So there's no shortage of communication with respect to improvements people want to see. But if you're able to use that tool, and I encourage everyone to do so, that's going to create a system that's much more actionable for us versus just, hey, messaging Ian or messaging someone on Telegram. We're all very busy. Some of those suggestions may not be seen, let alone implemented. And so, again, our suggestion, and we even implore folks, go to the roadmap, check it out. It's an awesome, awesome feature. And please engage with us there. And you're definitely bound to see a lot of your suggestions come to fruition.
Absolutely. I do want to hit on one more thing I think I saw in the GC is some insight regarding timelines. And I want to share some information relating to that. So we're targeting the leaderboard with its competition modules to go under testing by Friday. So our team will start testing of it this Friday. Once we complete that, that's when we find out if there's anything that needs to change significantly, or if it's like a red or green light. Is it green to kind of go and put the finishing touches to launch it to production and conduct marketing around it? With what we've seen so far, is going to be pretty close to green. So next week, after we've completed testing, we'll be able to share a concrete date of when the leaderboard is going live. And right in conjunction with that, we're having some discussions internally where we can actually take the leaderboard, and even before the Crucible audit is done, we're going to be able to gamify and incentivize pre-sales across networks, not just on Ethereum. So that's something that's on the table for discussion. We'll be providing more updates around that. So stay tuned. If you want to hear more about it, make sure you subscribe to our Telegram channel. The links will be in the description of this video. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel for updates and follow the roadmap as well at roadmap.ferrum.network. But those are some high-level timeline updates regarding what's upcoming right away. And the rest, if you want to keep up to date on it, again, the place to go is roadmap.ferrum.network. And that's the place where you'll find out the most up-to-date information about all of this.
Thank you for that, Taha. And for everyone who liked this update, I know there have been a lot of you asking for more sort of tech-related news. If people like this, we can do this more, right? We can bring Taha in every month or two, and he can provide some updates for us. I think it was very educational for myself, hopefully for the rest of the community as well. So we're more than happy to do this again and again if you guys found it valuable. So please do let us know. But yeah, otherwise, like, subscribe, share. I want to also thank Taha for your time. This was incredible. And I, for one, can't wait to have you back, and we can talk about this, all the tech stuff again in a month or two.
Absolutely excited to show some demos at that time too, which I know we're running a little late, but let me end with a demo of the leaderboard, because we did talk about that. So I want people to be able to experience that we're not just all talk. So let me just 1 second, and this should be coming up here. So this functionality is already built out. So you can see that this is the leaderboard module. Let me just make sure that this server starts up here in a second. I'm okay in case any of our tech folks are online, because I know they always say suggestions. So this is okay to share. It's all going to be open source. That's why I'm okay bringing up our code base on here. So the leaderboard, what it's going to do, this is the sickest part about it, is not only is it going to show you, so this is currently looking at a specific token on the BSC network. It's going to show you which holders are sort of the top holders in that specific network. So it's reloading now because I just relaunched the server. It's also going to show you, so let's say we can filter out the top addresses on that network, because the top addresses typically are team wallets or treasury or what have you. We don't really want them taking up space on the top few addresses, right? So we can filter them out, and then we can show all of the holders that are basically holding that specific token. But what's more exciting is we can give them a call to action. So for example, look at this guy on item number 9. So he's currently 9th in the position, and it shows that he needs this many tokens in order to proceed up to the next level. So we can map it. You click this level up. Now it shows you how many tokens you need to kind of beat the guy above you. You click that, and it takes you specifically to that specific DEX that you're going to. In this case, I've mapped it to Uniswap, puts in the token contract address of that specific DEX as well. And you can purchase those tokens right there. And we can do this for Uniswap, ApeSwap. We can do it for whatever DEX that you're mapped to, and it'll take you directly over there. So that's one side of the general leaderboard. The other side is we can have as many competitions as we want going. So for example, imagine each pre-sale having an element of competitions in there, or each initiative that we launch having an element of competition in there. We can have a competition module where we can track over a period of time a few things. One, how many tokens did these wallet holders grow by between snapshot 1 and snapshot 2? So let's say this wallet 6, you can see over here that between the start and end block, this wallet holder grew by 8,200. What does that mean? It's marked in yellow. So we have a little guide that will be showing this is a new holder that came into play. So we identify as a new holder. They didn't have any tokens below, and they grew by 82,000 tokens, means they actually came into the community and bought this many tokens. The green over here means that they added tokens. So you can see that this person added so many tokens in the last period. And then the red also means that people that reduced the tokens in that amount. So we can incentivize new holders, we can incentivize growth, we can also have some consequences for reducing the number of tokens in a given period. And also build in a call to action. So for example, if this person added like 1,000 tokens and they're above you, it gives you how many tokens you need to add to beat them. So it's a perpetual competition that can always be there. So lots of utility. And this is what we'll be discussing from a marketing and operations standpoint this week and the upcoming week, to share a lot of exciting utility with our community, and hopefully just gamify the concept of being part of pre-sales or staking or just the whole ecosystem, and have a lot of fun while doing it.
I love it. Thank you so much for that demo. It looks beautiful, first of all. And I just want to touch on quickly one part that I love about it. We talk in the community a lot about who should really benefit the most from being engaged in a part of the Ferrum ecosystem. Should it be those who hold the most tokens? Should it be people who held the longest? What do we do for folks who sell prematurely? Should they still have access to their pre-sale, and so on and so forth? Right now, the system that we have in place involving Unifier is rather cumbersome. There's some challenges around it, so we can't always gamify things or provide the incentives or disincentives that we want to. But now with this leaderboard, not only can we incentivize everything properly, but we can gamify it. And we can do a lot of marketing competitions around it. So you can imagine staking pools popping up with respect to that. This whole Miami and Wine, the Ferrum Experience series. You can imagine future iterations of that involving this leaderboard. So the possibilities of it are endless, but it's also going to make our ecosystem inherently more fair. And that's what I'm excited most about it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's super exciting. So yeah, I wanted to end with that demo just so people can have something to look forward to. And this we're hoping to have out in about 2 weeks from now. Testing will start Friday, and we'll post an update once again on the roadmap about it. And then as it progresses along to production, we'll be posting updates about that as well.
Amazing. Well, I, for one, can't wait for the next update like this. I think it was long overdue. And now that we're ramping up so much on the dev side, I imagine there's going to be more exciting updates that are happening at a higher clip, more frequent pace. And so maybe we can do this once a month or once every 6 weeks or so, and just keep the community informed, because not everybody's going to go to the roadmap or read any Medium articles. Some people prefer this more visual, engaging style with these interviews. So please give us your feedback. Remember to like, subscribe, share, etc. Give Taha some love, and we'll see you guys all next time.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.